Have you ever been facing a huge, absolutely massive problem, but found that your response is nothing? You're not doing anything. You're not moving forward. You're not finding solutions. You are completely stuck. Maybe you were suddenly let go from your job and you just cannot get yourself to apply, or you know that you're in a relationship that is harmful, but you are staying. You're not doing anything to improve it. You're not doing anything to get yourself out of it. You feel like you can't do anything. Or maybe you're confronted with an overwhelming to-do list of items that are important and pressing and urgent, and instead of getting anything done, all you can do is sit and scroll or literally just sit. This might be the way that the freeze response is showing up in your nervous system. Hi, my name is Lauren Ludlow. I am an LCSW, a licensed psychotherapist, and I specialize in somatic therapy and mind-body work. And I want to help you to understand your freeze response and why the freeze response can be so shameful, especially I've found for clients who identify as high achieving or high functioning. Let's start off with what the freeze response even is. The freeze response comes to us through polyvagal theory. Before I go any deeper, I want to name that a theory is just that. It is a theory. It is not a law. It is a well thought out explanation for phenomena we see going on with the mind and body. There is evidence that leans in the direction of supporting it. So it's this well thought out, evidence-backed explanation, but it is not law. It is not perfection. It is not proven. It can just be a very helpful way for understanding what's going on in our minds and bodies. Polyvagal theory really focuses on our vagus nerves, and our vagus nerves are two long nerves that run down from our brains, down our spinal column, and they help to attach our brains basically to the rest of our nervous system. When we get really activated, when something very stressful happens, polyvagal theory says that it activates something called our sympathetic nervous system. What that is it's part of our nervous system that helps us to respond to threat and danger. This part of our nervous system reacts really quickly. It goes fast. It operates on assumption. It involves our reflexes and being able to respond automatically. What it doesn't leave a lot of room for is well thought out, slow, logical thinking. So our sympathetic nervous system is great at responding to urgent situations where we need to react quickly, like if we're getting chased by a wild animal, or if we're needing to escape from something that is dangerous. It can be really helpful in those situations. Or even if we touch something hot and we need to move our hand back really quickly. And then we have our parasympathetic nervous system. This part of the nervous system is really great at helping us to come down from those activated states, helping us to soothe, relax, slow down, release that stress and that tension. Sometimes we describe the sympathetic nervous system as being responsible for our fight or flight responses. So those moments where we are ready and we're geared up to take on a challenge, we're ready to do things that are aggressive, or to run away, or to do what we need to do in urgent situations. Where our parasympathetic nervous system, we think of it as our rest and digest nervous system, meaning that our nervous system is in enough kind of homeostasis and a slowed down enough state that we can relax. All of our body functions are online, like digestion, and we're able to experience some amount of maybe peace, calm, or soothing. Now, like I said, we associate the sympathetic nervous system with fight or flight. So when our nervous system is really activated, the sympathetic nervous system will kick in and our heart rates will elevate, we'll get muscle tension, we'll sweat maybe, we'll have all of these physical responses that let us know that our body is geared up, ready to go to attack a problem, to be able to handle something really quickly, or to run away. Oftentimes we experience this as maybe stress, anxiety, or fear because it's not always in response to an urgent situation. Like maybe you've seen those videos that say, my body cannot tell the difference between a bear in the woods and a email from my boss saying that we need to talk. We do associate the parasympathetic nervous system with this calm, rest, and digest sort of response. But there is a little bit of an exception or a twist to that, and that is the freeze response. When we are in situations that feel so threatening, so overwhelming, so big, that we know that we cannot fight back against them or attack them, but we also know or feel that we cannot escape, it can send us into the freeze response. And so instead of that sympathetic nervous system getting activated, our parasympathetic nervous system gets activated, but it's like it goes into overdrive. In a simplified version of this, we can think of your parasympathetic nervous system as having two of its own pathways, right? So if we have the nervous system split into parasympathetic and sympathetic, we can think of that parasympathetic side as also being split into a dorsal vagal state or a ventral vagal state. So think of it like branching trees. You've got your nervous system, we've got sympathetic, we've got parasympathetic, and then with parasympathetic, we've got ventral vagal and we've got dorsal vagal. That ventral vagal system is the one that's activated when we are connected with a sense of safety. When we are in that ventral vagal state or our ventral vagal pathway is activated, we are ready to reach out. We are ready to connect. We are ready to do things that we enjoy. We are ready to dance and read and talk to friends, and we feel maybe playful, connected, joyful, or just nice and soothed and relaxed. But like I said, when those big threats come up, things that feel really overwhelming or scary or threatening, but we cannot escape them, and we also do not feel that we can fight them and maybe win, then we can activate that dorsal vagal pathway. And that dorsal vagal pathway, what it does is it slows everything way, way down, leading to what feels like a freeze response. Our breathing, our digestion, everything in the body and the mind just feels like it's slowed until we maybe feel like we can't do anything. If you have had that sensation of sitting on the couch and feeling like you can't get up, laying in bed and just feeling like you can't get up, needing to make a decision and feeling like your brain can't even move in the direction of choice making, this could be that dorsal vagal pathway being really, really activated. And you might be thinking, Lauren, how could a freeze response ever even be protective? Well, what your mind and body is trying to do is to conserve energy, have you get very still and do nothing until the threat passes, or until you're in a situation where you can fight or flee. Basically, it's like your body wanting to go into some sort of intense hibernation until something about the threat changes so that it's more fightable or fleeable, or until it passes or another solution presents itself. So until then, conserve energy, protect you by just getting very, very still to the point where maybe you could disappear. And that's it. And the challenge is a lot of this way of responding to threat isn't helpful for the things that you face day in, day out now. It might have felt it. The freeze response was helpful for maybe previous forms of threats way, way back in our human history, but it doesn't tend to be as helpful for that email that you need to respond to, or that text message you need to respond to that you've been putting off, or needing to search for that new job, or needing to make a decision about a relationship that is hurting you, or needing to change a pattern that you know is deeply impacting your joy and well-being. It's not as effective for that. And so the freeze response can feel very frustrating, but it can even go into the territory of shameful, especially for folks who identify as problem solvers, action-oriented, high achievers, or any of those sorts of things. Because instead of feeling active, engaged, and like you can do whatever you need to do, instead, you might feel like you're dissociating, you're disconnected from the present moment. You might label yourself as lazy or unmotivated. It might feel like a physical depression going on. Some of the things that a freeze response can look like, especially in folks who are high achieving or solution oriented, is struggling to make choices, mentally checking out, feeling emotionally flat, being overwhelmed by things that didn't used to overwhelm you, like email or texts, freezing during conflict. So finding that in moments of conflict, there's no words that come out of your mouth, whether it's conflict with a stranger where someone's going off on you out of nowhere and you just don't know what to say or how to stand up for yourself, or conflict with a loved one where you are shutting down and withdrawing from the conversation, feeling stuck in your relationships or job, or paralysis, like feeling like you really can't move before starting something new. And overall, if you're spending a lot of time in a freeze state or a freeze response, it can feel like your life is happening to you. You are going through the motions. You're maybe getting things done. On the outside, it looks like you're performing, but your life is not your life. You're just getting stuff done in a series over and over again, neither moving forward nor backward. And all of this can feel very isolating, especially from the outside. You are someone who looks put together, dependable, and successful, but on the inside, you're feeling like, I don't know what's going on, right? You're continuing to show up, be there for other people, hold it together, fulfill all of your roles, but on the inside, you feel like you are going through the motions on autopilot, disconnected, and not doing the things or taking care of the things that matter most to you inside, or maybe you've lost clarity on what those things even are. The shame comes from this disconnection between the way that you see yourself as maybe strong, capable, solution-oriented, and always on, and the way that you are showing up in that moment, confused, disconnected, unable to act. It can feel powerless, and also it can feel like laziness, and also it can feel like a lack of motivation, or it can feel like weakness. I'm supposed to know what to do. I'm supposed to know what to say. I'm supposed to know how to feel and how to act in these situations. I've even worked with people who have experienced really acute traumas, moments where their life was threatened or they were in a dangerous situation, who feel extremely ashamed that they froze up in those moments. They didn't fight back. They didn't say the right words. They didn't scream. They didn't shout. They didn't do what they needed to do to get away. But it's so important to understand so that you can connect with some realistic self-compassion that this is a protective physiological response that is coming from your nervous system. The freeze response is just like sweating when it's hot or your stomach growling when you are hungry. It is not something that you ask to come up. It's not something that you can control. It is your nervous system trying to keep you safe. Unfortunately, our culture doesn't even reward rest or slowing down when they are healthy. We really prize and prioritize pushing through and taking action no matter what. And so when you are stuck in the freeze response, when the body finally says, no more, I've had it, I need to stop right here, it can inspire so much shame. One thing to note, and this might be my bias because the clients that I work with tend to be mostly women, is I see this shame response happen all the time in high achieving, high performing, solution oriented, however you think of yourself, women in particular. So much of our identity as women can be wrapped up in what we do and how we show up for other people, how we show up for the roles and goals in our lives. And so when we're in moments of not being able to do as much, the shame not only impacts us momentarily, but it really gets at our sense of identity. A lot of women that have come to therapy have expressed, I'm not capable of doing the things I used to do anymore, so I don't know who I am anymore. And that's a source of a lot of pain and shame. So how do we shift from shame to self-compassion when the freeze response kicks in? Number one, I hope this video is going to help you to be able to name it, to name freeze as freeze instead of laziness, lack of motivation, or powerlessness. To be able to, when you notice yourself having that trouble getting going, say, this is a freeze response. This is my nervous system trying to keep me safe. That alone, naming it, has so much power to reframe the way that you're thinking about yourself and your own response to a challenging or threatening situation. You can also try to soften up that inner dialogue. Instead of saying, what is wrong with me? Why am I being so lazy? Why am I da-da-da-da-da? You can move in the direction of saying, what do I need right now? What would be soothing for me right now? What is the smallest, most manageable step that I can take to regulate my nervous system? If you are in a freeze response, something like standing up, going to your kitchen, getting a glass of water and sipping it slowly can be a powerful, manageable step to start to find some regulation. Can you, if not take a walk, go and sit by a window in your apartment or your home and let some sunlight touch your skin through the window? Can you find something that might be a small moment of enjoyment or rest? Can you grab a pencil and start to doodle in a notebook just to get those muscles moving and to get the mind moving a little bit? Can you do some gentle stretching, some things to help the body to start to unlock and get going? Pick what's manageable, because you can build up from there. Doesn't mean you're just going to stop with doodling or stop with getting water. We're asking, what does the body need right now in order to get moving just a little bit? Try to work with your body instead of against your body. There are so many different somatic practices that we can do to help our body to start to shift a little bit from the freeze response. And there might also be deeper work that you need to do. Maybe it's time to explore EMDR, to explore therapy, to explore some communal healing practices, a support group, a number of other things that you can do to start to help your nervous system to experience safety on a more regular basis. Because if you're in a freeze response all the time, it means that your nervous system is feeling a certain level of unsafe all the time or threatened all the time. And this can be due to a past history of trauma or adverse experiences, or maybe just recently coming out of a time of crisis or long-standing anxiety. So really start to work with your body and ask yourself, what could help to facilitate some deeper work for you? And last but not least, seek out co-regulation. You do not have to do the unfreezing alone. Is there a loved one, a family member, a friend? Is there a community member? Is there a partner? Is there a supportive pet by you that can help you to start to do some of this unfreezing? There is something around being near a regulated nervous system, being near someone who's feeling more solid, more safe, and more secure in that moment that can do so much for our own nervous systems. So this can be nonverbal things like giving a good long hug to a close friend, a family member that you feel safe around, a partner, or a nice long squeeze to a pet. It can be something that is verbal, like sharing about what you're going through, naming the freeze response, and letting someone comfort and support you. It can even be something as simple as going to a workshop, a meditation class, a yoga class, a community event where there is dancing and there is singing, and just being around a group of people and a group of nervous systems that's maybe a little bit more regulated than your own, and just being there doing that activity that can be helpful. But that might be something that you need to build up to if you're in that freeze response. You might need to start with some smaller and more manageable practices and then escalate to, okay, there's someone around that I can co-regulate with, and then escalate to, I'm able and I'm ready to get out and about. But really, we're working with your nervous system step by step. So if you are a high achieving, do everything, go type of person, especially a woman, and you are feeling stuck in shame because of the ways that the freeze response is impacting your life, the thing I want to leave you with is you are not weak and you are not lazy. Your nervous system is wise and it is trying to protect you in the best ways that it knows how. And the best way that we can change that is by giving your nervous system new ways to protect you and to access safety and to access security. Freeze is not failure. It is survival, right? And so we want to move from survival to thriving and to living, but we have to start with survival for that to even be possible. So if you can, see if you can extend a little gratitude towards yourself, towards your nervous system for trying to keep you safe, and try some of the steps that I shared in this video today. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more.